Whispers in the woods. The town of Redpine was small, isolated, and surrounded by a forest so dense that sunlight barely penetrated the thick canopy. The locals called it the Redpine Woods, a place of shadows, forgotten trails, and whispered legends. Children were warned never to wander too far. Hunters spoke of strange howls that carried over miles. Campers told stories of disappearing tents, missing friends, and strange markings on trees. Most dismissed it as superstition, but Detective Maya Lawson, a seasoned investigator who had dealt with the worst humanity could offer, knew that sometimes folklore hid a kernel of truth. And the reports coming in from Redpine had her uneasy. It began with a murder. A hiker, Emily Sanders, had gone missing during a weekend trek. Her body was later found contorted unnaturally, lying on a narrow trail deep in the woods. Her eyes were wide with horror, her mouth frozen in a silent scream. Carved into the surrounding trees were symbols that defied understanding, jagged lines intersecting in angular patterns. There were no footprints leading to or from the site. It was as if she had simply been plucked from existence and returned after death. The townspeople whispered of the forest spirit, a vengeful entity that punished those who trespassed or sinned. Maya, skeptical but pragmatic, had her doubts, yet something about the crime scene disturbed her deeply. This was no ordinary predator, no human killer she had ever investigated. The symbols themselves seemed purposeful, ritualistic, and ancient. Within weeks, more people vanished near the forest. Young men and women, hikers, hunters, even locals passing through disappeared without a trace. Marks similar to those found at Emily's site appeared on trees, fence posts, and even rocks along the forest paths. Maya began compiling reports, trying to discern a pattern. That's when Ethan Cole, an investigative journalist with a reputation for chasing stories the police often ignored, contacted her. "They're connected," Ethan said over coffee in a dimly lit diner. His notebook was full of sketches, old police reports, and photographs of the markings. All disappearances are near the woods. All involve those symbols. And the people. They're never found alive. Maya leaned back, skeptical. "You're suggesting something supernatural." "I'm suggesting that the police aren't seeing what's right in front of them," Ethan replied. "The locals know. They've always known. That forest doesn't forgive. It remembers, and it feeds." Despite her doubts, Maya agreed to let Ethan accompany her. They needed to see the woods for themselves, to understand the patterns, the symbols, and the disappearances. The next morning, they entered the forest. The air grew heavier with each step, the silence almost oppressive. Birds had vanished. The wind was muted, as if the forest itself held its breath. Sunlight barely penetrated the thick canopy, casting long, twisted shadows across the moss-covered ground. Each crackling branch beneath their boots seemed amplified, echoing through the endless trees. Hours passed without incident. They followed old trails, some overgrown and nearly impassable. Symbols began appearing on trees with increasing frequency, marking the path deeper into the woods. The deeper they went, the more the forest seemed alive. Shadows moved just beyond their vision. Whispers brushed against their ears, faint, overlapping, indistinguishable at first, but growing louder and more coherent. Sometimes the whispers seemed to accuse them, sometimes to beckon, always unnerving. Eventually they stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood an abandoned cabin, its roof sagging, moss-covered, and vines strangling the walls. The door creaked open slowly, though no hinges remained. Inside, the stench of decay and earth assaulted them, and there, in a circle on the wooden floor, lay the bodies of recent victims, Emily Sanders among them, arranged in a grotesque, ritualistic display. Their eyes were wide in terror, mouths open in silent screams, and symbols were carved into their flesh. From the shadows emerged a figure. It was tall, impossibly thin, with skeletal fingers and eyes glowing faintly like embers. Its voice didn't come aloud but echoed directly in their minds. "You should not have come. The forest claims all." Maya and Ethan froze. Every instinct screamed at them to flee, But as they turned, the forest itself seemed to shift. Paths disappeared, trees rearranged, and the cabin's clearing stretched impossibly wide. They were trapped. The whispers intensified, now a chorus of screams, pleas, and laughter. Maya realized the truth: the forest was sentient. The entity within it fed on fear, guilt, and those who entered with unacknowledged sins. The carvings, the rituals, the bodies, all served to maintain its power. Every victim was not gone but trapped, feeding the entity endlessly. Desperate, they attempted to escape. Each path they took led them back to the cabin. Shadows reached out from the corners, brushing against their skin, whispering promises of safety if they surrendered. Faces of the missing appeared in the bark of trees, in reflections of stagnant pools, pleading silently. To survive, Maya and Ethan realized they had to confront their own darkness. Maya thought of cases she had mishandled, lives she had been unable to save, lies she had told to protect herself. Ethan faced lies he had told to advance stories at others' expense, betrayals he had hidden. They acknowledged their guilt aloud, as if confessing to the forest itself. The forest seemed to pause. Shadows recoiled. The whispers diminished. The cabin's walls trembled, then began to fade, and the dense trees around them shifted, creating a narrow path toward the edge of the woods. After what felt like days, they emerged into sunlight, hearts pounding, rain beginning to fall lightly. The forest seemed ordinary again, though every instinct told them it was not. The cabin had vanished. The trees stood silent, ancient and patient. Weeks later, another hiker disappeared near Redpine. The town murmured in hushed tones, shaking their heads at yet another missing person. Maya and Ethan knew the truth. The forest remembered. It waited patiently for the next trespasser, the next sinner, the next soul foolish enough to enter. Even now, on foggy nights, when the town sleeps and the wind carries faint echoes, they swear they can hear whispers in the woods, faint, accusing and eternal. The forest remembers, it waits, and it always takes.